First, I would like to say a few words about why I'm here today. We have those who like the idea that I'm here, and we have those who don't like the idea, but I like the idea to be here. In coming weeks, the European Union and its member states will hold a number of important meetings. We'll spend many hours talking about our relations with Russia. I take the view that we must also talk with Russia, the leadership, its people. For some, this may be a radical idea. For me, it's common sense. From the start of my life in politics, as a minister, as a prime minister, and as a president of the European Commission, I always worked to build bridges and for dialogue. I believe that the peace and prosperity of humankind lie in openness and exchange. They are not declared in a treaty, but built by ordinary men and women in daily life. People who live, work and trade together have a little desire for war. The program of this year's forum tells a story: migration, climate change, inequality, cybercrime. These are the great challenges of our 21st century. They demand cooperation between all nations who aspire to peace, prosperity and social justice. This is true not only because we cannot solve these problems alone. It is true because in the world of 2016, our economies and our societies are more intertwined than ever before. The European Union and Russia are no exception. Millions of people communicate and trade each day. Russian citizens receive more Schengen visas than anyone else. Even in 2015, over 3 million. And even in 2015, we exchanged goods and services worth 20 billion euros. And this is far more than simply a question of trade. Today, and in spite of our differences, the European Union works with Russia to tackle a number of global issues and regional conflicts, ranging from the fight against terrorism to the nuclear program in Iran and the conflict in Syria. And so, this is our starting point. We are interdependent. The question is what we want to make of it. We could simply accept it as our fate, the fate of geography. Or, like me, we can see it is a shared responsibility which calls on us to work together and use our power wisely. But first, we need to have a frank conversation about where we stand today. The illegal annexation of Crimea and Sevastopol and the conflict in and around Eastern Ukraine put the relation between the European Union and Russia to a severe test. Russia's actions have shaken the very principles of the European security order. Sovereignty, sovereign equality, the non-use of force and territorial integrity matter. They cannot be ignored. But even before these dramatic events, our ties were strained. The EU efforts to engage and explain were not always welcomed or accepted. But if our relationship today is troubled and marked by mistrust, it is not broken beyond repair. We need to mend it, and I believe we can. I've always believed in the power of dialogue. When our relations are tense, we must keep talking. Even when economic sanctions are in place, we must keep the door open. And if I'm here with you today, it is because I want to build a bridge. I've known President Putin for many years. We talk often and we talk openly, very openly. If we need to have a frank conversation today, it will not be the first time and probably not the last. We will talk as long as it takes. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we have a choice to make It is true that history has often divided our peoples. Even as the 20th century recedes into the past, its shadow lies still across us. And yet, in spite of our heavy burden, we are free to choose our path into the future. Our world today is more fragile and uncertain than ever. We have truly entered the age of fragmentation. And in this world, Russia has an opportunity and also a duty to use its power for the greater good, working alongside the European Union and as our partner. For the European Union and Russia, the prize one day could be great. A vast region governed by the rule of law, trading freely and working together on common projects. Of course, this will not happen overnight, but it is not an utopian vision. It is one which, with goodwill and ambition on both sides, would serve the best interests of our citizens. In such a world, we may disagree on many things, but we must agree on the rules. We might follow different economic policies, but we must live up to our WTO obligations. Our vision of the fair society might not be the same, but we must fulfill our international commitments on civil and political rights. These are the issues we must be able to agree upon for our relationship to flourish. The past 25 years have shown it is not an easy task. At times it seemed impossible, but at other times we made it work. But our path must begin with Ukraine. The Ukrainian people have decided which kind of future they want for their children, and everyone must respect that. Russia is party to the Minsk agreements. It has made commitments, put them on paper, as have done the other signatories. Therefore, the next step is clear: full implementation of the agreements. No more, no less. This is the only way to begin our conversation and the only way to lift the economic sanctions that have been imposed. And let me be clear, on Minsk, the European Union is united, and so is the G7. A stable and democratic Ukraine that continues its economic transition can only be good for Russia, good for the Russian economy, good for Russian businesses, and good for Russian citizens. But a stable Ukraine, at peace with its neighbors, offers a greater prize still. It offers a vision of how the entire region might develop for the good of all. Each sovereign nation must be free to choose its relation with its neighbors. If one country wishes to develop closer ties with Russia or the European Union, or both at the same time, this choice must be respected. Such a choice can never be seen as an act of aggression or division. This vision goes far beyond economic cooperation and trade. Our people must be at the heart of it. Today, Russian students and youth workers are the biggest participants in our European Erasmus Plus program. Last year, more than 3,000 young people took part in the exchanges between the European Union and Russia. That is good, but we do want to do more. European civil society will continue to work with our Russian partners. We will deepen our cooperation in education, science, research, culture. And I hope that Russia wants to do the same, because a vibrant civil society and a free media are the foundation of a stable democracy. By bringing our people closer together at all levels, we build trust and the shared understanding that the peaceful and prosperous society can only be built on fundamental freedoms, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. We need to be sure that all countries of Central and Eastern Europe have non-discriminatory access to energy supplies. I have a strong preference for pipelines that unite rather than for pipelines that divide. And with our international partners, we have worked hard to secure an international order that is based on rules and cooperation. From climate change to global trade, to fair taxation. In all these ways, the European Union's project for peace and prosperity is alive and well. I believe Russia should welcome this because a stronger and more effective European Union is a strategic asset and a better partner forever. We can have no illusions about the problems weighing on our relationship today. They exist. They are real. It would be pointless, even dangerous, to ignore them. We must tackle them urgently so that we can focus instead on the better future for our countries and peoples. That will benefit our neighborhood. Together, the European Union and Russia, even with our differences, must share a commitment to the basic human values that underpin a free society. In the end, only these values can bring lasting security here and in the wider world. This is a journey, ladies and gentlemen, that requires an honest conversation about our relationship today. It begins with Minsk, and it begins with the respect for international law. It will be a difficult conversation, I have no doubt, but it is a necessary one. Thank you for listening.